Hello, and welcome to Home Performance Company Startup. This is Eric Gans, and I just want to say thank you for listening. And I'm going to get right to what I want to talk about today. And that is the truth about what a good website really is. And I'm going to start off by telling a little story about a call I was on right at the beginning of the pandemic before I broke off and got my own thing started. And it was with another home performance contractor in my neck of the woods. And what I found to be really interesting is that even him, a successful home performance contractor in my area, didn't have really any idea about how to set up his website for success. And to this day, didn't and doesn't have it set up for success. So what exactly is success? Well, it's really simple, all right? Because I go on to a lot of Facebook groups, both contractors helping contractors, contractors helping homeowners, businesses helping businesses. And there's a very common question, and that is, hey, how do you get your leads? How do you get your name out there? How do you market your company online? Should I pay for ads? Should I do my Google business profile? There's so many questions. And yes, you should do all of those things. But here's the thing. All of those things are going to do one thing. And that's that they're going to drive a person that has, any type of interest, whether it's just in the color scheme you use, whether it's the actual thing you do. For whatever reason, it's going to drive a person to your website. And it is at that place, that website, that you need to have, what it takes to catch their attention. Now, here's the thing about me. I'm not a creative genius. I don't have everything all figured out when it comes to graphic design and where to place things. I'm still learning and trying things and failing on a lot of levels. But what I can tell you that I learned since 2006, since I started, being an entrepreneur, being a contractor / online marketer / whatever you want to call it. Since 2006, this is what I've learned. All you have to do is draw on your actual experiences as a contractor that you're going through every day and write about them. And what I mean by that is they do have to be experiences that are connected to the interactions you're having with the homeowners you meet with. But they don't need to be anything complicated or complex. You could take simple problems that you're coming across on a regular basis if you're, let's say, for example, a roofer. And maybe one of the big challenges that you see homeowners not understanding is, what is a ridge vent for? So maybe you could take your knowledge about ridge vents and you can craft some type of an article, maybe with a few photos that you've taken out in the field with some explanations, a few arrows. However you've found your way to explain what a ridge vent is to a homeowner, get that onto paper and into your website as an information page. Maybe you could do a small blog on it. And when you do drive a person to the site, you're going to have some unique content, something that is going to connect with them. Now, it may not connect with everybody, and that's kind of the magic to all of this. you may write an article about that ridge vent, and the first person that lands on it, no, that's not what they're looking for. But it might be the third person that is really captivated by ridge vents. That's what they need to know, because everything else when it comes to a roof is not of interest to them. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is, don't make the mistake of putting up a nice, fancy looking website that has really nice pictures, that is well, written and clear, but the information that the person reads is dull and boring and doesn't really resonate in any way and isn't connected to the things that people are actually asking and wanting to try to figure out and want to learn about when it comes to whatever you do. Now, I also want to talk a little bit about how that ties into the next concept that is super important if you want to have a successful website. And when I say successful, what I'm talking about is a website that is going to generate you leads on a regular basis, consistent basis, good qualified lead with the types of people that you want to connect with, not just throwing a big spider web out there and hoping that, you grab a few people here and there. Now, I'm not an expert in this stuff. I do it myself. So I have, experience with it. But the thing that I can tell you is I do subscribe to a few different online channels that pump just every day. It's amazing how much information they pump out there about how to do all this stuff. So this information is readily available. And I'll try to remember to put a few links in the comments here for this particular episode so that if you're interested, you can find them. But really what I want to end this today's episode with, I want to try to keep it a little bit shorter today, is a big way that you can be successful with your website is if you focus on something that's called EAT. That's EEAT. EAT. And it's something that Google pays attention to, and I can attest to this because I follow this stuff and I do it and it's working for me. And I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. The first E in EAT is experience. So you have to demonstrate to Google, and I kind of say Google, but it's not just Google. It's to the people out there in the world surfing the net that you have experience in whatever it is you do. So you have to kind of think about how to exemplify that on your website. Expertise. You have to be able to speak to whatever your specialty is. You have to be able to talk about some of the inner workings. Now, here's the trick to this. You don't have to sound like a scientist. You don't have to be the person that invented this stuff. You have to make it interesting, and you have to put it back in lay terms, if you know what that means, just simple terms, because the regular everyday homeowner, they don't understand all of the terminology that sometimes we use in our world. They understand things in very simple terms, and they don't think long about some of these different complicated systems that, trust me, I get excited to talk about. I think it's really cool that, there's so many really interesting things that you can do with a roof, for example, or windows have all these interesting parts. But the truth of the matter is you have to keep things simple. So you have to be an expert. You have to have expertise, but you also have to be able to explain things in a way that people can understand. So that's one trick there. And Google will understand that you understand that. So that's another little trick. Authoritativeness. So EE, experience, expertise, and now we're at A, authoritativeness. Okay. Well, how are you going to demonstrate that you are an authority in your field? Well, let's go back to roofing since we've been sort of using that. Let's say you're a GAF contractor and you've got all the bells and whistles that GAF offers, you're able to offer all the extended warranties, and you really know your stuff about GAF. Well, what you want to do is you want to make sure that, and you absolutely want to make sure that GAF, wherever they have their list of vendors or their list of recommended contractors for the whatever area you're in, you want to make sure that you're listed on there, because Google is going to pick up on that, and that's going to help, start to build your authoritativeness. And then lastly, the T in EEAT, EAT, is trustworthiness. And that is another one that it's no secret. How do you build trust? Well, in today's day and age, it's through reviews. And you got to make sure that you have a good, healthy amount of reviews, and you've got to really work towards getting people to not just give you a 5-star review, but ask them to put some of the information that's pertinent to what you do into the actual review itself, so that those keywords and that information can be gobbled up by Google, and then you can actually, get some juice from that as well. So that's kind of what I've got going on here today. I just wanted to give you a few simple ways to build a website. It's not rocket science. It's really not. So hopefully this has been helpful. Oh, and I also wanted to mention one other thing. I think I mentioned it in maybe a previous episode. If you have any ability to get in front of a camera or to strap a camera on and do some video and get yourself on YouTube, you're absolutely going to see huge results from that as well. So anyway, thanks for listening. Hopefully this was helpful. I'd love to hear from anybody who's listening in the comments, any kind of information that you'd like to share about yourself or connect with me in any way. I'd love it. Thanks for listening. EricGans.com.